Christine join?
Yep.
Okay.
Hi, Christine.
Hi.
Hello?
Hi.
Okay, we're live.
Okay, so are you going to administer the oath of office, Christine? Cindy?
Actually, yes, if Christine Shipham would like to read her oath of office before the meeting begins, that would be great.
Okay. Declaration of office. I, Christine Shipham, have been elected or appointed to the office of councillor in the municipality of Calvin, and do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office in a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, or the reigning sovereign for the time being. And I make this solemn promise and declaration conscientiously, believing it to be true and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And if you'll just sign that and return that to the office, I would appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to call the meeting to order at this point, 7:03 p.m. Take attendance. I see everybody, but I'm going to ask anyway. Sandy?
Present.
Dan?
Present.
Heather?
Present.
And I'll do Christine just so she doesn't feel left out.
Present.
Okay, thank you. So does anyone have any written disclosure of pecuniary conflict of interest? Sandy?
No.
Dan?
Actually, I just occurred to me that I do have a conflict of interest in the budget section of the fire department, as my son is on the fire department there. I didn't send the paperwork in yet, so I don't know what to do now. I should send
Thank you.
I guess, but.
Heather?
Yes, I do. Under disbursements.
Okay. And Christine?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Sorry.
Next item on the agenda is petitions and delegations, of which we have none. Next item is number 4, report from municipal officers, of which we have none. Number 5 is reports from committees, of which we have none. And then action letters. So under action letters A, we have a bylaw number 2021-015, which is a bylaw to appoint a vacancy on council. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for the first reading of this, please. Sandy, can you move this one?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Dan, can you second this one?
Yes, can.
Thank you. First reading, moved by Councillor Cross, second by Councillor Maxwell. Being reading to confirm the appointment of a person to fill a vacancy on council. Be received and read the first time, so I've read that. Any discussion on that? Councillor Cross?
Just welcome to council, Christine, and we're going to have a good year. Thanks. That's all.
Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion, just welcome as well, Christine. Looking forward to working with you.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
Me as well.
Okay.
No discussion.
Thank you. So I'm going to call for a vote to pass the first reading. Councillor Cross, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Counselor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Counselor Olmsted, yes or no?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the first reading is carried. Next, we have a second reading for the bylaw to confirm the appointment of a person to fill a vacancy on council. So I'll need a mover. So Heather, can you move this one, please?
For sure. Yes.
And I guess we'll go back to Sandy. Can you move this one, please? Can you
Yes.
second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Any discussion, Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion?
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
So I'm going to bring this reading to a vote. Councillor Cross, do you vote to accept this reading?
Yes, I do.
Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
And Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So hopefully we can get through the third reading tonight. So I'll need a mover and a second on this. Councillor Maxwell, can you move this one?
Yes, Ken?
And Councillor Olmsted, can you second this one?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have the third reading of a bylaw to confirm the appointment of a person to fill a vacancy on council, as reported by the committee as a whole, to be read a third time, pass the number 2021-015, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk, seal with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed by the bylaw book. Any discussion, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Any discussion, Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion?
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
Okay. So I'm going to bring the third reading to a vote. Do you vote yes or no to accept this, Councillor Cross?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no to accept this?
Yes.
And Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes as well. So this bylaw is carried. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome.
So I have a question of Cindy. Does that mean that Christine is now an acting councillor?
That's correct.
Okay.
From this
Welcome
point
aboard.
forward, we'll be participating in the voting as well and
Okay.
discussion.
Okay. Next item on the agenda then is B, which is to adopt the minutes of the council meeting of Tuesday, May 11th, 2021. Has everyone had a chance to look through those? So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this one as well. Christine, can you move this one, please?
I can.
Thank you. And Dan, can you second this one, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Shippen and seconded by Councillor Maxwell, that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, May the 11th be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Any discussion? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion?
Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Councillor Shippen.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call a vote to accept the minutes of the May the 11th, 2021 meeting. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to accept these minutes?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell.
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted.
Yes.
And Councillor Shippen.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you.
Welcome.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution to adopt the minutes of Tuesday, May the 18th, 2021. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this one as well. Councillor Olmsted, can you move this one?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Olmsted and seconded by Councillor Cross that the minutes of the special meeting of council held on Tuesday, May the 18th, 2021 be hereby adopted and signed as circulated. Any discussion? Councillor Shipham.
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion?
And Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call a vote to accept these minutes. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the minutes of the special meeting of council held on May the 18th is carried. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is an amendment to bylaw 2018-027 to appoint a committee of adjustment. So I'm going to move a seconder for this one as well. Councillor Shipman, can you move this one, please?
Yes.
Councillor Cross, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So this is a first reading, moved by Councillor Shipham and seconded by Councillor Cross, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2018-027, the appointed members of the Committee of Adjustment for the Municipality of Calvin, be received and read the first time. Any discussion? Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
Discussion?
Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Shipham.
I just have one question because I'm not really sure what this is for. I don't know if I missed it in the paperwork. I'm just not sure what the Committee of Adjustment is.
Cindy?
Cindy wants to answer.
So a committee of adjustment is required, and it's made up of essentially council. So the reason for this bylaw is to remove Councillor Grant and to put Councillor Shipham in the committee of adjustment. The committee of adjustment is used to make decisions on things like minor variances, amendments to the zoning bylaw, those types of things. So it's a committee that it's separate from council, but in our case, it's essentially made up of council. In other municipalities, it's made up of, there's a different makeup to it, but for our municipality, it's essentially council. But it would be considered a separate group.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any discussion, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this to a vote then for the first reading. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to accept it?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Counselor Shipham, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, and I vote yes as well. So the first reading is carried. Second reading, I'll need a mover and a seconder for that as well. So Counselor Olmsted, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Counselor Shipham, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So we have the second reading, moved by Counselor Olmsted and seconded by Counselor Shipham, of the bylaw to amend bylaw 2018-027. Any discussion on this one, Counselor Cross?
No discussion.
Counselor Maxwell?
No discussion?
Counselor Olmsted?
No discussion.
And Counselor Shipham?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'll call this one for a vote as well. Counselor Cross, do you vote to accept the second reading, yes or no?
Yes.
Counselor Maxwell?
Yes.
And Counselor Olmsted?
Yes.
And Counselor Shipham?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. The second reading is carried. Okay, so on this third reading, we kind of need to do this because we have a committee meeting, I think it's on June the 6th or 8th. So anyway, I'll need a mover and a seconder. So Counselor Maxwell, can you move this one, please?
Yes.
And Counselor Cross, can you second it, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So this is the third reading to amend the bylaw 2018-27, the appointed members to the Committee of Adjustment for the Municipality of Calvin, as reported by the Committee of the Whole, to be read a third time, passed number 2021-016, and that the bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any discussion? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Shipham.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion?
And Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call a vote on the third reading. Councillor Cross, do you vote to agree with the third reading?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you accept the third reading?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you accept the third reading?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Councillor Shipham, do you accept the third reading?
Yes.
And I do as well. So the third reading is passed, and this bylaw is carried. Thank you. So our next item on the agenda is a bylaw to enter into a lease agreement for the photocopier, scanner, and printer. Excuse me. So we passed the first and second reading at our last meeting. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for the third reading. Councillor Olmsted, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Maxwell, could you second it, please?
Yes, can?
Thank you. The third reading is being a bylaw to enter into a lease agreement with Delage Landfield Financial Services Canada, Inc. for a 2021 Toshiba E-Studio 4515 AC photocopier / scanner / printer. As reported by the Committee of the Whole, be read a third time, passed the number 2021-014, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any discussion? Counselor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Gotcha.
You did, you got me good.
Counselor Maxwell,
No discussion.
Counselor Shippen,
No discussion.
and Counselor Cross.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call a vote on this one. Do you agree with this agreement, Counselor Cross?
Yes, I do.
Counselor Maxwell,
Yes.
Counselor Olmsted,
Yes.
Counselor Shippen,
Yes.
and I do as well, so this bylaw is passed. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is bylaw 2021-013. It is a bylaw to enter into a boundary road agreement for the maintenance and repair with Papineau Cameron on Boundary Road. Excuse me. So, is this the first reading?
Third.
Can't see second. Okay, so third. Okay, so I'll need a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Shipman, can you move this one, please?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Maxwell, can you second this one, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So this is the third reading of the bylaw for the agreement between us and Papineau Cameron. So I'll read it as it stands. It's being a bylaw to authorize the Corporation Municipality of Calvin to enter into a boundary road agreement with the Corporation of the Township of Papineau Cameron in the District of Nipissing, Province of Ontario, for the maintenance and repair of certain sections of a boundary road system between the municipalities herein. As reported by the Committee of the Whole, be read a third time, passed the number 2021-013, and that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk, sealed to seal the Corporation, and made gross in the bylaw book. Any discussion on this, Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
Councillor Shippen?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call for a vote to pass this bylaw. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Shippen, yes or no?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So third reading of bylaw 2021-013 has passed, and this bylaw has passed as well. Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is Municipality of Calvin Administration. It's councillor and management discussion on the 2021 preliminary municipal budget, the May 25th, 2021 version. There was a copy in our package.
Mayor Pennell, would you just like me to quickly go over the changes were made in this version?
Yes, please.
Okay, so anything highlighted in yellow was a change. There was only the one change made in revenues. This was to accommodate the invoices that were received from our Integrity Commissioner investigations. Instead of increasing the levy, I am recommending, and that's what I've put here, that we take the additional funds from our working funds reserves So that's why this is increased from $10,000 before to, sorry, $15,000 before to $45,000 to account for the $30,000 in Integrity Commissioner investigations that have come forth. So that's the first change. All the other changes in terms of salaries and benefits, this council made a decision in terms of salaries at the closed portion of the last council meeting, and therefore the adjustments were made according to the decisions made by council. That's what each of the departments had for salaries and benefits. This also affects the employee pension because there was an increase, so changes were made accordingly to reflect the employee pension expense. Well, there was an increase and a decrease sort of thing, so there was adjustments made, let's just say that. I believe the next, I'm just making sure I don't miss anything here. I believe the next section will be in environmental, the landfill. So in this particular line here, we increased it from $200 to $300. This was to account for placing a job ad for the new landfill students. So that was a minor adjustment there. These other highlighted at the beginning of each department are, again, as I explained, salary adjustments. And then in recreation, changes were made to the capital expenditures. We removed the furnace for the rink building. So this went down by $6,000. However, we added that $6,000 to the transfer to reserves because after speaking with the furnace company or the company that provided us with a quote for the furnace, unfortunately, there isn't any way to change the quote. There isn't stuff to remove. There are factors that need to be taken into consideration in terms of electricity needs to go to the building, the duct work that has to be put into the building. They have to make sure that they do it in a particular manner in order to make sure that carbon monoxide concerns, gases, all are not a concern throughout the entire building because it's going into change rooms and washrooms. It's sort of going through a number of different rooms. Because it's thousands of dollars more than we had anticipated, we are recommending that we transfer the $6,000 that we originally allotted to transfer them to reserves to save for this. Just so council is aware, we do have some other ideas that when we have more time to investigate them, we may be able to implement. For instance, one of the suggestions is that we replace one of the furnaces in the Public Works garage so that instead of it venting out the roof, which it currently does, it vents out the side, and that way when we are replacing the roof and the siding this summer, the vent doesn't affect the ice buildup on the roof of the Public Works building, because it's vented out the side, it won't cause leaking and things like that the way it is now. So that's one suggestion, but unfortunately we haven't gotten far enough in the quoting process with the siding and the roof to be able to see if that's going to be able to work. So at this point, our best suggestion is for us to put the money aside, and if at a later date we determine that we can do some of the suggestions with the Public Works garage furnace, then we can do a resolution and remove the $6,000 from reserves and use it to buy the furnace. So that's what the change was in terms of transfer to reserves. And because the Aimable de Fond and the garbage cans were, instead of buying a new garbage can at the Aimable de Fond River for the Aimable de Fond River public swimming access, because we removed that and we're just using one of the garbage cans from the rec hall and we're moving it down there, that didn't accommodate for the signs. So the signs were moved, which are approximately $500. They were moved into the Rink and Sports Center. So there was a $500 increase to this section. So essentially it's just moving things around, but just so the council is aware of the changes that take place. It didn't actually affect the bottom line at all, but that's what those changes are in that regard. And I believe that's all the changes that were made. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't know if we continue.
Okay, Councillor Olmsted?
I just was curious, where's the new cameras going? I thought we already.
New camera?
Yeah.
That was a decision. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I forgot to mention that. The new video cameras were included here in capital expenditures. That was a decision of council made last year, and at the time we removed the funds from reserves, but unfortunately they weren't installed until January and February of this year, so they had to be a part of this budget.
Right. Okay.
They're the new security cameras, just so everybody's aware, the new security camera system that was installed. It was upgraded from an older system that we had.
Is that all, Councillor Olmsted?
Yes, thank you.
Councillor Maxwell?
A few questions. Line 316, it's, why does, if it's 6,000 that we're putting aside for the furnace, why does it say 11 in the budget? Transfer from reserves?
Because originally there was $5,000 in there to transfer to reserves from the surplus. That's what was decided here. And we just added the $6,000 that we had allotted in capital expenditures. That was the estimate that we had previously of what the furnace was going to cost, and so that's why we're adding it, which brings it to the $11,000.
Before we go on spending money on a furnace in that building, I'd like to have further discussion and maybe more research into that actual building, if that's actually feasible or not, because I don't believe that it's an insulated building. I think it's just made out of blocks, cinder block. So it could be very difficult to heat that with putting a furnace in that type of a building. I don't think it was ever meant to be heated, just from the structure of it. It's just built out of cinder blocks, and there's some structural problems with it sinking. So I'd like to investigate that a bit more before we throw more money at that building. Just a thought on that. I had a question on line 69. 69 is the, yes, the our friends, Integrity Commissioner. So we're going to pay them $45,000 this year. Is that's what's in the budget for them?
The $45,000 comes from the $15,000 that was originally in the budget, plus the $30,000 of the 3 invoices that we just received on Friday.
Okay, so we finally got invoices from that. Are they up to date as of today or as of this week? Is there more to come?
As far as I'm aware, I've asked them to know what if there's any further invoices to be done, or is this done? I haven't got an answer yet. I asked them on Friday and again today, and they're investigating for me. They'll get back to me. I don't know the answer to that question right at the moment.
I think that it's really important that we review the contract that we have with them. I think that we're getting taken advantage of here with these fees, and I think it's really unacceptable for our taxpayers to have a $45,000 bill sent to us just for to do some light investigations, and I think it's just totally unacceptable, and we have to do something about this, Integrity Commissioner.
Okay, I'm going to call kind of a point of procedure here. 'Cause if you want to have that discussion at another meeting, we can have it at another meeting, but that's not an agenda item tonight, okay? I know there's a cost in the budget for it.
$45,000 being spent on integrity commission isn't an item that we should be discussing?
That's not what I said, Councillor Maxwell. Said it's not on the agenda to be discussed tonight.
Well, it's in front of me right here.
Point of procedure, Councillor Maxwell. It will not be discussed tonight.
Okay. The other line I had was a line, I just have to check, remind myself, 153, which was 153 was, yeah, I see that there's a brush saw in there. Didn't we just purchase a brush saw last year, a new brush saw in the budget last year? I'm just curious why it's in there again this year.
That's an error on my part. You're correct. It shouldn't be in there.
That's all the questions I had on our budget.
Which was the last one? What line item was that, Councillor Maxwell?
It was the 153. It was purchase of a brush saw.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yep. All right. Thank you for bringing that up. Any other comments?
I just want I just have one more comment.
Okay, go for it.
I just said it was finished, right? Just the overall budget, it seems like we're coming in a little high. And we have to be careful that we're not going to nail our taxpayers with a big tax increase this year. So I'm curious to know how this actually translates. I see at the bottom, it looks like it's a 13.6% increase in the levy change. So that could be, I know it's not the same as the tax rate, but I'm a bit concerned at the height of that is, and perhaps that we should be sending the departments back to the drawing table to reduce their budgets down a bit more. I want to be very responsible how we're spending our money, and I don't want to be putting through a budget that's too high. So I'd like to know how this budget is settling out in terms of the amount of tax rate for our citizens, our residents. Maybe that can be looked at later. I don't know.
Anything further, Councillor?
No, nothing else. Thank you.
Anything further?
No.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cross.
The rate I was expecting to go up because of the breaks that we gave last year. I mean, some of it has to be recouped this year from the breaks they got last year. I am really having a hard time with this bill from the Integrity Commissioner as well. I actually was kind of disappointed that we didn't actually put more money into reserves for future things that are going to have to be taken care of. But I don't see where else anybody's going to be able to reduce. So that's all I have to say.
Councillor Shipham?
No, I don't have anything at this time.
Okay. I think I always have a problem with levy and tax rate as to what the increased levy means as far as the tax rate increase. So I'm wondering if we can bring that back so that we have kind of an idea if it's like a 2% or 5% or 20%, or I know it's not 20, but just to get an idea on it. I'm not sure what it would be. And we have already gone back to call our staff and ask them to reduce. The furnace is one. I agree with Councillor Maxwell that maybe we should look at that building and see if it's appropriate to spend that heating money on at this time. But if we don't, okay, that we have to be aware that it's going to be the same this year coming as it has been last year and the year before that. It'll be heated with the electric heaters, and it'll be that cost, and it won't be that well heated. Okay, so I kind of agree with Councillor Maxwell in that respect, but I think everybody else is pretty much done what they can do. But I would like to see what the levy means in regard to a tax rate. I never can figure that one out. I don't know how to do it. Would that be possible, Cindy?
Yeah, I can bring the first reading of the bylaw. I was planning on doing it anyway, for next council meeting, which would provide what the tax rate would be.
Okay.
Does council as a whole, do they want me to remove the $6,000 transfer to reserves for the furnace for the time being then? And calculate the tax rate based on what it is without that $6,000?
Can I do it both?
I can, yeah.
I don't think $6,000 in the long term is
but
going
I
to be a
can't
lot.
do it by law, which
Okay.
would mean
Oh,
that
yeah.
we would either have to do a special meeting or you'd have to pass the tax rate bylaw in one sitting.
Okay. I'm okay to do it without if everyone else is, but let's ask. Councillor Cross?
I'm okay without.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, I agree.
Councillor Shipman?
I agree as well.
And Councillor Maxwell?
Yes, I agree.
So I agree as well. So I think we've just agreed that we'll take that money out for the furnace, and then we'll come back with a levy and a tax rate at their next meeting,
Okay.
next regular meeting. Okay, thank you, everyone. So the next item on the agenda is bylaw number 2021-017. It's a bylaw to establish the 2021 tax transition ratios in preparation for the discussion of the 2021 final tax rate, yet to be determined by final budget adoption, to be determined in June 2021. So I'll need, everyone had a chance to look at the numbers that were provided to us in our council package. So I'll need a mover and a seconder to set the tax ratios. So Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Olmsted, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can. I think Cindy had a question, though.
Oh, sorry.
Do you not have your hand up? No? Okay. Great, sorry.
I was just going to explain something about the tax ratio,
Okay.
that's all.
Please do.
So, just so council's aware, the tax ratios are exactly the same as they were last year. The reason for that is there hasn't been an increase in our assessment. As we're all aware, the province, because of COVID-19, has put a pause on increases in assessment for properties and property taxes, et cetera. So that's the reason why there has been no change to the tax ratios this year as well. I conferred with Opta, which is the tax ratio, Ontario tax ratio, forget whether it's agency or association, something like that. Anyway, they are the experts when it comes to figuring out tax ratios, tax rates, all that sort of thing, and they agreed that it was best that we leave our tax ratios alone. As you can see in the bylaw, one of our rates is higher than it should be. It's higher than the provincial average, and we're supposed to be doing our best to try and get it down to the provincial average. I suggested that we shift things around to try and accommodate for that, and she said, the person at Opta that I was speaking to indicated that that would probably perturb people, because it would mean whatever we shift from that particular class has to go on all the other classes. And right now, it's probably not a good idea because we have a levy increase as well. So it's best, in their opinion, for us to leave the tax ratios the way they stood last year.
Okay. All right. Is that it, Cindy?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, thank you. So first reading, I have moved by Sandy, second by Heather. This is a bylaw to set the tax transition ratios, municipality, the purpose to adopt a new business property tax policy for eligible classes in the year 2021. Any discussion, Councillor Cross?
I'm terrible with numbers. I'm just trying to figure out so there's, for when you look at, say, residential farm, 1.000, so that is, how does that work out with tax ratio? I feel like I need a math class right now.
Sorry, I don't
So that's
understand your question.
Okay, well, 1%. So that's 1% of what? Like, I'm not exactly understanding these numbers.
Not a percentage.
Ratio. Okay, ratio. Okay. 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 All right.
The tax rate is their percentage. But this is the tax ratio. This is how we take our entire levy and how we're going to distribute it through the different classes that we have.
Okay. So you take your tax levy and you do something with this number to make the ratio so each person is paying a certain amount then?
Each class.
Each class,
Each
yes.
class
Sorry.
pays so ratio is 1 to something. So the 1 is the residential, and all of the other classes are based on that. That's the ratio towards them.
Okay, so for most people in Calvin, they pay the 1 point whatever, and then there's the piece. This
is the ratio, not the
ratio.
rate.
Okay.
This is the ratio, not the rate.
Okay. So they take that ratio from the, okay, got it now. All right. Sorry. Go ahead. We're done.
So that was your discussion, Councillor Cross?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Councillor Maxwell.
I'd be interested to see on how our tax ratio compares to neighboring Papineau. We're very similar in layout. The one thing I always scratch my head on is it's the farmlands, but I guess farm is different than farmlands. So on a farm, the buildings are taxed like same as residential, but the field is not. The field's farmland. Is that how it works?
If you're classified, if you have a classification as farmland, you would get the farmland rate. If you're not classified as farm, then you would pay the residential/farm rate.
Okay, so the buildings and everything, if it's classified as farmland, is all assessed. The value of the property is assessed as farmland, including the buildings and the residents.
MPAC would be able to better answer that question, but it's in a short form. No, there's a certain percentage, and I don't know what the calculation is. That's, like I said, that's a question for MPAC, how they figure that out. But where the house is, or if there's a house on a property, that's considered residential. It's taxed at that particular rate, and then the rest of it, if it's classified as a farm, would have the farm rate.
Okay.
Did that answer your question, Dan?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Anything further?
No.
Okay. Heather? Any
Oh, it's all
discussion?
Greek to me. I'm kind of getting what everybody's putting down. I get it. But, yep, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Christine?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. I think we can ask MPAC to come in and, join us at a meeting to explain stuff if we wish. We've done that in the past, had our rep attend the hall a couple times. I'm sure they could do it by Zoom as well, if we were interested in doing that. So
I would be.
maybe if we're interested in doing that, we can arrange for that to happen.
There are also webinars on the MPAC website
Yeah.
that council can access that would explain it. I'm not sure how much detail, depends on how much detail you're looking for. Obviously, a webinar would not go into great detail on calculations because every calculation is different. But there are, give you a basic understanding, there are webinars also. But I can contact our advisor from MPAC if you'd like, if council would like him to come to a meeting and explain it. How each class is calculated. That's what they would explain. They're not going to start explaining tax rate versus tax ratio.
Is that something that we'd want to proceed with? Councillor Cross?
Yes, I'd be very interested in that.
And Councillor Olmsted?
It would be interesting. I could just see what's on the webinar. Maybe they can explain it, but there are questions that come up, and I'd rather speak to him directly, if that'd be okay.
Okay. Councillor Shipham?
Yes, it'd be nice to know what we're looking at here.
And Councillor Maxwell, would you agree with that?
Sure, yeah. I'd be okay with that. I think I understand most of it. Yeah, it wouldn't hurt.
Okay. I think if we're going to do that, we should write down some questions so that we're kind of organized. Maybe we could even provide them ahead of time so that the lady or gentleman has time to research and prepare the answers for us. Okay? Just a thought though. All right. Okay, so we're back to the first reading. So everybody's had a chance on the discussion. I'm going to call for a vote to accept the tax ratios as presented to us. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
Okay, and I'll vote yes as well. Next is our second reading of the bylaw. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this. Councillor Olmsted, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Shipham, can you second it?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So second reading of bylaw to set tax transition ratios for municipality purposes and to adopt a new business property tax policy for eligible classes in the year 2021. Have moved by Councillor Olmsted and second by Councillor Shipham. Any discussion? Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion.
Counselor Shipham,
No discussion.
Counselor Cross.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to bring the second reading to a vote to adopt the tax set transition ratios. Counselor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Counselor Maxwell?
Yes.
Counselor Olmsted?
Yes.
And Counselor Shipham?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Thank you. Okay, so next item on the agenda is bylaw 2021-018. It's to establish salary and hourly remuneration for officers and staff for 2021. So we did have discussion at our last closed session regarding this. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder for this. Councillor Shippen, can you move this one, please?
Sure.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Maxwell, could you second this one, please?
Yes, again.
Thank you. Have a bylaw moved by Councillor Shippen, seconded by Councillor Maxwell, to establish salary and hourly remuneration grid for officers and staff of the corporation for 2021. Is there any discussion on this? Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
And Councillor Shippen?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this to a vote. So Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to establish the salary and hourly remuneration grid for officers and staff of the corporation?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
Councillor Shipham?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. That was the first reading. Second reading, I'll need a mover and a seconder for that as well. How about Councillor Olmsted? Can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Cross, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, second reading, have moved by Councillor Olmsted, second by Councillor Cross, for a bylaw to establish salary and hourly remuneration grid for officers and staff of the corporation. Any discussion on the second reading? Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
Councillor Shipham?
No discussion.
So I'm going to bring the second reading for a vote to establish the salary grid. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Shipham, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I vote yes as well. So the second reading is carried. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is J, and it's to appoint a member to the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority Board. Okay. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this. So Councillor Cross, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Maxwell, can you second this one, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have a resolution moved by Councillor Cross, seconded by Councillor Maxwell. And it reads, as Councillor Dean Maxwell has resigned from his position of councillor, he is no longer available to sit as a board member to the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority Board of Directors and the North Bay Mattawa Source Protection Board of Directors. So we're kind of looking for a volunteer. Is there anyone who would like to volunteer? I'll ask each individual. Councillor
Sandy's
Cross.
put her hand up. You're muted.
I have a question first. Is it two separate boards or is it the same board? I was under the impression that he was on the North Bay Conservation. I don't remember hearing the Protection Board of Directors. Is that this? Can you explain that a little bit to me?
They only meet every few months. So you sit on both when you're appointed to that position, and usually at the start of the meeting they have that meeting. There's a few members that aren't from the Conservation Authority, and they discuss basically source water, okay? Where the water comes from, what's happening with it. So they're pretty short meetings. Okay. So
I understand now.
Councillor Olmsted, are you interested?
I'd be interested if nobody else is.
Okay. Councillor Maxwell, are you interested?
No, not at this time. I'm busy with the planning board, and I think that's enough on my plate right now.
Okay. Councillor Croft?
I would be interested in this position.
Okay. Councillor Shiplin, are you interested at all?
Not at this time. I think I have enough on my plate trying to figure out the council right now.
Okay. So then if I'm understanding correctly, Councillor Croft has volunteered for this position, and thank you very much. So going on with the rest of this resolution, therefore, Sandy Cross shall be hereby appointed as a board member to North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority Board of Directors and to North Bay Mattawa Source Protection Board of Directors for the remainder of the 2018 to 2022 term of council. Any discussion? Okay, so Councillor Croft, anything you want to say?
No, that's good.
Okay, and Councillor Maxwell?
Thank you, Sandy, for doing that. That's all.
Okay. Councillor Olmsted?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, and Councillor Shippen?
No, I have nothing.
Okay, so I'm going to call this to a vote that we accept Councillor Croft to be appointed to the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority and to the North Bay Mattawa Source Protection Board of Directors. Councillor Croft, okay, so I'm going to ask for your vote as well, because you vote yes?
I'm going to say no. No, yes.
Okay. Councillor Maxwell, do you agree, or yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you agree? Yes or
Yes.
no?
Yes.
And Councillor Shippen, do you agree? Yes or no?
Yes.
And I'll agree as well. It's not that bad of a meeting. So you get to meet a lot of people from area municipalities, so it's not really all the. It's a good thing, actually. Some pretty good people put on the board. But thank you. Next item here is case, and it was the Municipality of Calvin Administration. It was support for town of South Bruce Peninsula lottery licensing to assist small organizations. I know we discussed this, I think, at our last meeting, saying that it would be helpful for some smaller groups within the municipality to be able to do something like that. So do we have anything prepared for that? Okay, here we go. No, that's not it.
Oh, that's a dead end. There.
There we go. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder on this one as well. So, Councillor Olmsted, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Shipman, can you second it, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have the resolution moved by Councillor Olmsted, seconded by Councillor Shipman, that Council hereby requests staff to contact the Ministry responsible for the Alcohol and Gaming of Ontario to seek their assistance in implementing an additional level of licensing, which would permit small organizations to hold fundraisers as a method of sustaining our community and organizations. And further, that all municipalities of Ontario are sent this resolution to seek their assistance in lobbying the municipality. Is there any discussion on that? Councillor Cross.
Just that I'm in full support of this. I think if this could be passed, it would help small municipalities like ours in a huge way.
Councillor Maxwell?
No comment.
Councillor Olmsted?
I agree.
Councillor Shipman?
I agree.
Okay, so I'm going to bring this to a vote. Do you vote to proceed with this? Yes or no? Councillor Croft?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
And I'll agree as well. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is something we talked about at our last meeting as well. It was support for dead-end road kids and bus turnarounds. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this, please. Excuse me, Councillor Shipman, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Cross, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I know we discussed this a little bit at our last meeting. So we have this resolution moved by Councillor Shipman and seconded by Councillor Cross. That dead-end road delegation be received from parents, video site www.durhamdeadendroadkids.ca and attach correspondence. And whereas dead-end road kids cul-de-sac private roads busing is being moved from long-time residential pickups, percentages of 830,000 Ontario bus students impacted as Student Transportation Services, STS, citing buses shouldn't access private roads, do three-point turns or backups. Kids are expected to walk 1 to 2 kilometers twice daily, caregivers 4 times, in the morning, dark or narrow road shoulders, and with no bus stop ahead warning signage. Whereas parents report employment housing is at risk, as they must leave work to drop off or pick up children to avoid safety hazards of kids walking on highways unsupervised. Secondary school youth reporting education at risk as missing class affecting grades. Children with disabilities are not being helped. Example, double amputee who needs bus stop moved 160 feet, and parents were told it's their responsibility to get their kids to bus safely. Whereas parents are being told busing policies is school board, but school board says it's STS, who says there is a government committee of the transportation, Ministry of Transportation, but the Ministry of Education says it's Transportation Concordia who administer the policy, and trustee government say cannot change policies, so parents appeal to police, press, and councils with respect to the dangers, and that an oncoming car killed 12-year-old Cormac and injured his sister while waiting at a newly relocated bus stop at the base of the hill. And whereas STS have advised road improvements are the responsibility of municipalities, yet municipalities do not own the needed land, nor have millions of dollars to create 77 million bus turnarounds. And whereas Ontario Transportation funding is at $1 billion, January 27, 2020, Ministry said they didn't improve student transportation, review funding formula, and given STS gets their funding by scoring well in reviews, and given Ministry establishment Student Transportation Advisory Group to hear STS sector expertise, experience, and ideas. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Corporation Village of Calvin requests exceptions to allow three-point turns and backing up where necessary to provide safer service to dead-end and private road kids, that policies be amended to reflect, and when not possible, exceptions to allow indemnification agreements to access private land for bus turnarounds to keep bus stops safer and closer to prescribed 800-meter distance, and when not possible, bus stop ahead warning signs be required to notify oncoming traffic prior to STS moving common stops to main roadway, and STS must be comprised of solutions like minibuses, vans, taxis, or public transit worked into funding formulas so that it does not negatively impact the STS funding stats, and key performance indicator, KPI, be included for the ministry effective and efficient follow-up reviews, establishing benchmarks for responsive problem solving for kids and parents, busing concerns, and that this be an STS factor to receive funding, and that the province provide a parental portal for ongoing busing feedback of their STS so families and kids can review, promote comments, especially during ministry STS reviews and revisions to funding, and that the province has GPS tracking software to notify parents when children pick up, drop off, and that this motion be distributed to Premier Doug Ford, Honorable Stephen Lecce, Minister of Education, Honorable Caroline Mulrooney, Minister of Transportation, Honorable Beck Cordelli, MPP, Honorable Anthony Rhoda, MP, all Ontario municipalities, Rural Ontario Municipal Association, ROMA, and Ontario Good Roads Association, and the Ministry of Municipalities of Ontario. Okay, any discussion? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Okay, Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Councillor Shipman.
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call on a vote on this resolution, whether to proceed with it. Councillor Cross, do you vote to proceed, yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Shipman?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item M, I believe. Support for concerns re joint and several liability. So I'm going to need a mover and a seconder for this one as well. Councillor Olmsted, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. And Councillor Maxwell, can you second this one, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So everyone's had a chance to read this. So I have this resolution moved by Councillor Olmsted, seconded by Councillor Maxwell. Is there any discussion on this? Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted?
Well, being that we were hit with a significant increase in our deductible, I think we need to support this.
Yeah. Anything else, Councillor Olmsted?
Nope, that's it.
Councillor Shipman?
No discussion.
Okay. I know we've already received our invoice for this year, but I think it's important that we do support this. There's the deep pocket syndrome and all that sort of stuff, so I think it's something that we need to support. We move down. Okay, so is there any further discussion? I think we asked that already. So I'm going to call this one to a vote to proceed with this resolution and to send our notice of non-agreement with how it's being run. So Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to proceed with this?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Thank you very much. There was an item in your package about the emergency control group meeting. Any questions on that? Oh, Cindy? Cindy?
You just skipped one, that's all, sorry.
I what? I missed one?
You missed one, yeah.
Pride Month.
Which number?
N.
Okay, N. Sorry about that. So, I'm really sorry about that one. I'll need a mover and a second for this one. Councillor Cross, you vote yes? Can you move this one, please?
Yes.
And Councillor Maxwell, can you second it, please?
Okay, yes.
Okay, so we have the resolution in front of us, moved by Councillor Cross and seconded by Councillor Maxwell, that we recognize this June as Pride Month in order with can commemorate the Stonewall riots which occurred at the end of June 1969 in New York. Any discussion? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Councillor Shipman.
No discussion.
And Councillor Maxwell.
Will we be having a parade as well?
We're not
I
allowed to
don't-
have parades.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
you're
we're
right.
not allowed.
Okay, so any other discussion, Councillor Maxwell?
Just, how does this get on our agenda? It's not typically something we deal with as council, as a municipal council. I'm surprised it got on our agenda as a motion so easily.
I think it was something that came out of, our closest one would be North Bay.
Oh, yeah. North Bay District
And
Labor
we're-
Council.
Support that.
Yeah, I see the letter accompanying it.
Any further discussion, Councillor Maxwell?
No.
Okay. Okay, everyone, so I'm going to call this one to a vote then, whether we proceed with this or not. So Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to proceed with this resolution?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes,
Yes.
or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. So this resolution is also carried. Thank you. Now, the report to council from the Emergency Control Group meeting summary. Are there any questions on that for anybody? No? Okay, thank you.
Mayor
Oh,
Pennell?
Cindy's got a hand up.
Yes,
I just give a quick explanation to Councillor Shipham, just so she understands what this is.
oh yeah, okay. All right.
Or
Thank
you
You wanna
can,
do that?
the group as well.
Okay.
Anyway, I build a report. We have an emergency control group meeting every second week. This is because we are in a state of emergency because of COVID-19 right now. We have been in a state of emergency since last June, I believe it was, when we stated the state of emergency.
March, maybe?
Might have been May. I'm not exactly sure what the date was. It's been a long time since we've been in this state of emergency, but it's because of COVID-19. The emergency control group is put together for certain like, for instance, Councillor Olmsted mentioned that there was a tornado watch a little while ago. If we had a tornado that ripped through here and there was trees down and, or, you know, services were impaired for some reason, or, you know, people weren't being able to get to work, or, you know, different emergency situations when we had a windstorm, you know, in 2008, different situations like that. That's what the emergency control group is for. And we just started doing these reports, or I started doing these reports for council, so that because of COVID-19, because it goes on, typically it doesn't last this long. But in this particular case, because of COVID, it has, and so we've started providing council with reports of what our meetings are involved. That's what that report is.
Okay, thank you.
And by declaring that emergency, it gives us a hand up on other municipalities who haven't done that. It gives us access to a lot of services that if we hadn't declared that state of emergency, that we wouldn't have. One of our members, Renee Knight, he attends meetings, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 meetings a week on the COVID, and he updates us weekly or every other week on what's happening. He also sends emails to if something has changed from time to time to update us on that as well. Okay. Next item on the agenda is...
I have a question.
Go. Yes.
Just regarding the, this, I see it says that people 18 years and older can now all get the Pfizer vaccine. Can make an appointment for it. I'm running into a lot of people that don't want to get the vaccine. That, I mean, it's kind of they think there's a freedom not to get the vaccine, or they seem to have misinformation on the vaccine and whether it's safe or not. And it kind of bothers me because it's not based on science. A lot of these comments I'm hearing, and there's quite a bit in our community. And I'm just wondering if we should be educating people on the importance of getting the vaccine. Just seems like you know, if you want this, they talk about freedom, but if you want your freedom, get the vaccine, and we'll all have our freedom sooner. But these people that are not refusing to get the vaccine, they're actually holding up the freedom of everybody. Because until we have herd immunity at 70%, you know, nothing's going to open up. Just it boggles my mind that there's so many people that don't trust the vaccine and don't have information that they shouldn't get it for some reason. And some of these people are really unhealthy people, and they're saying, if you get the vaccine, if you don't get the vaccine and you get the virus, you're probably going to die. But they seem to have this information that's totally wrong. And I'm just wondering if we could put out something to kind of counter that, or just encourage people to get vaccinated when they can. I don't know how other people feel about that, but
I agree.
We do, yeah. We couldn't develop something ourselves, okay, because we don't have the skills, okay, or the knowledge to do that. Like, we're just lay people, whereas we can post stuff to our social media that's provided to us by Health Unit AMO and all that stuff, and we do that at this point. I know that I agree with you. There's a lot of people who don't trust it, are afraid of it, don't think that it's a problem. There's many different views on this terrible time. But at this point, we are posting stuff that's provided to us by AMO and health unit. I don't know, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just
Yeah,
being
no.
positive, just whoever I'm speaking to, I've got my first shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess if you come across a good article, I guess we should post it, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Anything, any other thing there anybody wants to talk about on that one? Okay. So we'll move on then. Next item is P. It's community safety and well-being toolkit costs. Excuse me. So we have a resolution. We discussed this at our last meeting as well. So I need a mover and a seconder for this. So Councillor Olmsted, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Shipman, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Excuse me. So we have a resolution in front of us moved by Councillor Olmsted, seconded by Councillor Shipman. That Council hereby authorizes the clerk treasurer to pay Mr. Calvin's share of the consultant costs associated with development of the community safety, excuse me, and well-being plan toolkit. The estimate cost is $3,800 plus HST, and the municipality of Calvin would share would be 23% of the cost. Any discussion on this? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
And Councillor Shipman.
No discussion.
Thank you. So I'll bring this to a vote on whether we proceed with this cost. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no to proceed?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no to proceed?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no to proceed?
Yes.
And Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no to proceed?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. So this resolution is also passed. Thank you very much. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is Q. And it's Municipal with Calvin administration. It's a new OPP detachment board makeup. And we have to have a response in by June the 7th. So I'll need a mover and a seconder for this. Councillor Olmsted, can you move this one, please?
Yes, I can.
And Councillor Cross, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have a resolution moved by Councillor Olmsted, seconded by Councillor Cross, that Council hereby authorize the clerk treasurer to submit a response to the office of the, I can't see. Office of the Solicitor General by Monday, June the 7th for the Corporation and Municipality of Calvin's recommendation decision of following OPT detachment board composition as being the most viable for our area. Which Group A was Mattawa, Matawan, Papineau, Cameron, Calvin, and Bonfield, the Highway 17 corridor. And Group B was East Ferris, Chisholm, Blossom, Nipissing, and the Highway 11 corridor. Any discussion? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
No discussion.
Councillor Olmsted.
No discussion.
Councillor Shippen.
No discussion.
And okay, so I'll call a vote on this resolution for the clerk treasurer to respond. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted
Yes.
and Councillor Shippen.
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Next item on the agenda was RNS. There were two educational items that we could have looked at if you were interested. Okay. After that, there's number 7 is information letters. Are there any in there that that are worthy of a response or promotion or acceptance? Councillor Cross, did you have any?
No, a lot of them were ones that we've already supported and actually were mentioned in as well, which was nice.
Yeah.
But no, there wasn't really anything that stood out.
Councillor Maxwell, anything in there that you saw that you'd like to discuss?
No, nothing.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Olmsted?
Well, I had a question about N, the new optional small business property subclass. I guess we'll just have to wait for more information to come. I mean, it sounds good, but it's very vague.
It kind of sounds good in ways, and yeah, we would have to wait for it. But if we, I'm not saying this is positive or negative, if we give small business a break, okay, then we have to distribute that break to other classes, all right? So
I agree, but this is in the budget. Like, this is not even our decision.
Oh, yeah, but we can apply later on to do this if we want to,
Okay.
as municipality.
Right. Yep,
So
that's it.
what was
Thank
it you wanted to do with that, Councillor Olmsted?
Well, I know, I'm just, it kind of left me more questions than answers. I don't know what they plan, like, more information will come down the pipe.
I read it a couple times, and I agree, there wasn't a lot of information at the very start before they started, into their details of it.
Yeah, so, yeah, no, I just thought if somebody else knew something more about it, that's all.
Okay. Was there anything in there that you...
Cindy has.
Oh, sorry. Cindy?
Just further information in regards to the small business class. It's an option. We don't have to take it if we don't want to. There's a process that has to be followed, like we have to pass a bylaw stating that we're going to do so. We have to apply to the province if we want the educational tax break from it. As Mayor Panel indicated, if we apply the reduction, so we currently already have a reduction for commercial and industrial excess and vacant lands. This would be to apply to commercial and industrial occupied lands. And as Mayor Panel mentioned, if we take this reduction, or if we apply this reduction, then we would have to distribute the reduction to other areas, other classes. And our biggest class is residential, which means the taxes that the commercial properties aren't paying would probably go to, most of it would go to our residential tax.
All right, thank you.
So
thanks.
There's a whole process that needs to be followed, but the reason why it's in the provincial budget is because of that educational portion that we would have to apply for.
Okay. All right, thank you, thank you.
Councillor Shippen, did you see anything in there that you'd like to discuss?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. So our next item on the agenda then is information letters available, of which I don't believe there are any. Then that next item after that is old and new business. Councillor Cross, do you have anything old or new?
No, I don't.
Okay, Councillor Maxwell,
Nothing tonight.
thank you. Councillor Olmsted,
Nothing for me, thank you.
Councillor Shippen,
Nope.
and Cindy.
The only thing that I would like to mention to council is you have passed the resolution in regards to the OPP detachment board. I have, just so council's aware, our detachment is they're wanting us to make it up of our board, which is Mattawa, Matawan, Papineau Cameron, and Calvin currently. If this goes through, it will become Bonfield as well. That will be one board, and the other board will be the other municipalities. I'm in talks with the CAO from Chisholm, and between the two of us, we are hoping to meet the demand of the June 7th deadline. There is a little bit of leeway there in terms of the deadline based on a webinar that I attended by the province, put on by the province. But we'd like to provide a united front so that everyone in the municipality, and everyone in the region is seeing the exact same thing. And so she's coordinating with the members of her, Highway 11 corridor, and I'm coordinating with our members so that hopefully we can all get resolutions together and we can submit one submission and the province will accept it so that because we're all in agreement. Otherwise, if we're not in agreement, then province will decide how they want it broken out. That's all. Wanted to
Thanks,
update.
Cindy. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the accounts approval report. That was in your agenda and an addition today. So I need a mover and a seconder for this. So Councillor Maxwell, can you move this one?
Yes.
Thank you. And Councillor Shipman, can you second it, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So we have a resolution moved by Councillor Maxwell, seconded by Councillor Shipman, that the disbursement dated May the 20th, the amount of $29,332.01, and May 25th in the amount of $35,029.14 be hereby authorized and passed for payment. Any discussion on that? Councillor Cross.
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell.
Did you say another one came by email today?
Yeah. It came with your invitation to tonight, I believe.
Oh. Oh, I didn't see that. Okay, you come back to me. I just want to look it over.
Okay. So, Councillor Olmsted?
She declared a conflict.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so Councillor Shipman, getting in there that you'd like to discuss?
Nope, there was nothing.
Okay. So back to you, Councillor Maxwell.
So there's the Integrity Commissioner bill, finally.
Yeah.
That's high. It's higher than I expected. That's too bad.
It's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see a lot of mileage for Jacob too. Does that always mean mileage when it says mileage? Cindy, does that always mean? Jacob's put quite a few mileages in on the expense here. Is it always mileage when it says mileage, or can it be something else? Is it always
No,
common?
in that particular expense report, It's mileage and it's from January.
We did see one come in already this year, back in February, mileage expenses. Because I remember I questioned it then because it was over $300 then, and I figured it was like 700 kilometers that they had to drive to get that.
You're right, sorry, it's from February 23rd to May 20th.
February 23rd. Okay. I just want to know, where are they going that there's that much mileage involved? I think I can ask that question, can I? It looks like trips to North Bay or something. Because like for 75, for example, $75 would be like 150 kilometers roughly. So that's, and there's quite a few of them in there. Like I think there's 3.
Well, it's all the different departments that he works for. Jacob wears many hats. And so when he goes to the landfill, when he goes to the cemetery, when he has to drop off a water sample in North Bay, when he has to go pick up parts somewhere, those types of things.
Okay, so 200. 16. Okay.
Okay, so moved by Dan, seconded by Christine. I'm going to call for a vote to accept these disbursements. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell, do you vote yes or no?
I'm not happy with that integrity commissioner bill at all.
Well, there were reports of irregularities and they had to be investigated, and that's the result of those.
That's only up to me.
So do you vote to accept this or not, Councillor Maxwell?
No, I don't, no.
Okay, Councillor Olmsted, do you vote yes or no?
Declared a conflict.
Declare conflict, sorry. Councillor Shipman, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. So next item on the agenda is closed portion, of which there is none. Item after that is business arising from a closed portion, which there's none. Notice of motions, there's none. And the last item on the agenda is number 14, which is adjournment. Okay? So need a mover and a seconder to adjourn the meeting. So moved by Dan. Can you move this one, please?
Yes, again?
Thank you. And is Heather back?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. Heather, can you second it, please?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. So we have a resolution moved by Councillor Maxwell, seconded by Councillor Olmsted, that this regular meeting of council now be adjourned at 8:44 p.m. Any discussion? Councillor Cross?
No discussion.
Councillor Maxwell?
No discussion?
Councillor Olmsted?
No discussion.
Councillor Shippen?
No discussion.
Okay, so I'm going to call to a vote. Be in favor of adjourning the meeting at 8:44 p.m. Councillor Cross, do you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Councillor Maxwell?
Yes.
Councillor Olmsted?
Yes.
And Councillor Shippen?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. So this resolution is carried. Okay, so that ends the meeting for tonight, folks. So everyone stay well, stay safe, and try to convince everybody you know to go get their shot when they can get it. Okay?
Then hopefully I
So,
can see my
have a
son in
good
a
night.
couple weeks. Good night.
Nay.
Night.
Okay, bye all.
Bye.